last week, I didn't speak up on it because it's a very sensitive topic. So last week there was a display of domestic violence on the public scene, in the social media, on the news, everywhere you look, there was talking about or reporting on at least 4 situations. And I'm not going to necessarily get into those 4 situations, but I just want to give a reminder that, listen, there's a lot of red flags before that comes. Before somebody takes somebody's life, take their own lives, take the lives of the people around them, there's a lot of red flags that show up in different ways. And what I want to encourage people, and it just so happened most of those situations that were out in public were men against women, but it can go both ways. It can go women against me, a woman against a man against a woman, or if you're in a same-sex relationship, you can have domestic violence in those type of relationships as well. But at any rate, don't ignore the red flags. Just don't ignore the red flags, because by the time it gets to a point where there's violence happening, it's not going to get any better. So one of the things I tell young people all the time is, because full disclaimer, I've never been in a relationship myself as far as domestic violence, because if something seems like it's a little off, if you seem like you might have a problem with self-control, if you seem like you're overly jealous or controlling or something like that, I usually just get on out of it. I bounce. And that's in romantic relationships, and that's in friendships. I will bounce on you. I will love you, as I said before, from a distance, because you can replace a lot of things. You can replace most things. You can replace your house. You can replace your car. You can replace a job. You can even start a whole new career regardless of how old you are, if that's what you need to do. You can start a new business. You can replace things. You can move to a new place, a new city, and start all over if you need to. But the one thing you cannot replace is life. You cannot replace your life. You cannot replace the lives of your loved ones, including your children, because there was even, in the midst of the domestic violence, there was even a mass shooting over in Shreveport, where a number of children, I think it's up to, I think it was like 8 or 10, I can't remember. Don't quote me on that number, but I know it was a lot. And for me, one life is a lot. But when you have multiple like that, that's a lot. Now, I am black, so, when you're on those news feeds, you see a lot. I see a lot in my community. But again, I want to get back to, because when it comes to domestic violence, it's not a color thing. It's not even a culture thing. It's a human being thing. I don't want to see any woman being abused, or any man being abused for that matter, because there are some abusive women. Some men will, because they've been raised not to put their hands on a woman, can be taken advantage of. And I believe my number one rule is you're not going to call me out my name, because that, to me, that leads, and I've seen where that leads to worse. If a person is constantly calling you 4 and 5 letter words, calling you out your name, calling you stupid, telling you fat and don't nobody want you and all this kind of stuff, or you too skinny, whatever, body shaming you, just verbally abusing you, that leads to worse things down the line. So when I tell you, don't ignore the signs. It is better to get out these relationships before it gets to where they feel a bond and attachment. And one of the things that I tell people is that's what the dating process is for. The dating process is to weed those type of people out. But in the dating process, you have to be careful, because there's a step from dating to obsession to ownership. And so you have to be careful, because, and I'm just going to put this out here, when you go to sleeping with people too early, that can be dangerous. You think you're having a good time, and you probably are. I'm not going to tell you it's not fun. You probably are having a good time. But in the long run, if that person is not the right type of person, you might not see it, because your emotions are in it. No matter how much women feel like they're detached, no matter how much men feel like they're detached, they can just do whatever they want. There's always going to be a certain person that you will find yourself forming a bond, and it might not even be love. It may be built around lust, but you don't want nobody else. You don't even want to think of somebody else being with that person, right? I always say I don't want anybody to love me so much that they can't let me go. Hey, let me go. If you want to be with somebody else, let me go. And so, again, you got to read those signs. And I said 3 of them just in that. What are the 3 I said? Let's go back over there. What are the 3 I said? One of them is verbal abuse. One of them is forming an attachment too quickly. And one of them is feeling a sense of ownership, acting as if they can't live without you. Now, some people say a whole bunch of stuff, but there's a difference between somebody saying a lot of stuff, even though you got to be careful and be paying attention to what people are saying, because if you listen to them, if you stop being all googly eyes and looking at how handsome they are, how fine they are, you will see, so nosy, you will see that that they're too aggressive, they're too weird. You will see the things. If you stop, slow down, take a little time, you can come to a conclusion, and you can see where somebody has emotional issues and they go too far. If they snap because you say something, you just being yourself, and they snap, then I'm telling you, you need to get out of there. Because when you look at it, and you look at it, it's a lot of good-looking people that's doing a lot of bad things. And so, again, we got to stop being so superficial about looking at how good they look, how fine they are, and all that stuff. And let's take time to get to know these people before we lay down with them, before we form these emotional attachments, these soul ties, as they would say. Stop forming these soul ties with people you have no idea with. Like, these one-night stands, you don't know. It's just like a person drinking alcohol. You don't know, or taking the drug, certain drugs first time. You don't know when you're going to get addicted to something. You don't know. And that's another thing, if you're a person that, like, I don't drink, I don't do those things, but if you're a person that do those things, you and you like to party, you like to do, do certain things that and that's a different conversation. But if you are into that, then you need to see how this person act whenever they get a little bit too much alcohol in them. I grew up with a person, with a stepdad he was a functioning alcoholic. He worked all through the week. He was a really good guy. He was nice, but I'm gonna tell you something. Friday evening, he bring my mama that money. Then he go, because this is back in the 80s, he'd bring my mama that money to pay the bills and do whatever, do what grown folks do. Pay the bills, go shopping, whatever it is that she needed to do that weekend. But he'd go out, he'd get drunk and high. He come back, he was a totally different man. That man come in there ranting and raving, telling my mama she using him for everything he got, and he was just a totally different person. When he got that alcohol and a little bit of weed and cocaine or whatever it was, he was snorting or whatever. When he got a little bit of that in him, and he come back, and it was clockwork. It was every week. And I'm telling you, it started out with him saying different things. And to be honest, my mama was not one that knew how to de-escalate in her young days. And so it always escalated to something terrible. And I say, from watching that, and from watching a couple of other relationships that she had, and from watching relationships that my aunts had and friends of them, that it started out with somebody saying something that they know is going to trigger you. It started out with them not wanting you to be around certain people. It started out with them trying to separate you from everybody. You thinking they just love bombing you. No, they're separating you. They're putting you in a place where you don't have nowhere to go. You're trapped in this thing called a relationship, and you're vulnerable. By the time they get to that, it's really too late. By the time they have separated you from everybody, it's really too late. Encourage you to either they'll encourage you to quit your job, or they'll act like you don't know how to manage your money and be taking everything you got. Listen, we have got to stop looking at how somebody look and think about what they're saying. If they did somebody, there's a certain person in America, as my pastor used to say when he was living, there's a certain person in America, I was listening to them, and this is a person that's close to me, and I love them. They're very close to me, but this some years ago. This was like back in the 90s, and it might have been the early 2000s, like 90, somewhere between 99 and 2001, 2002. Anyway, I know it was before I had my oldest son. But anyway, we were sitting talking, and he was dating this girl, and so he had choked another girl, and that girl started laughing, and I stopped her right there, and I said, listen, this is not funny. It is not funny that he choked her. First of all, when you choke somebody, you can kill them. Second of all, if you do it to her and you sit up here laughing, he'll do it to you. You need to be paying attention, because that is not right, and it's dangerous, and it's not funny. And that's what I mean. We be so caught up in these relationships, how somebody look, how they make you feel within the first so many weeks or months or years. And the next thing you know, they snap on you. And that's what happened. I told that young lady that night that was, and I was young too, but I told her that night that was not funny, because if he do it to you and he's sitting up here laughing about it and you laughing with him, when he gets mad enough, he'll do it to you. Because this is what happened. Abusers abuse. Abusers abuse. Liars lie. Stealers steal. See what I'm saying? People are who they are. And you have to pay attention to what they're saying and what they're doing. Do not ignore the red flags. I plead with you, do not ignore the red flags. There's too much going on in this world. And again, you can replace a lot of things, but you cannot replace your life. You will be standing before Jesus trying to figure it out. Or your loved one. Maybe you survive, but your loved one don't. Anyway, I plead with you all. Please, please, please pay attention at all times before you get involved with these people. Pay close attention. It is a matter of life and death. Anyway, this has been EB3, speaking the truth in love. Be blessed, be a blessing, and don't ignore the red signs. If you've experienced or if you're in the middle of a relationship that you feel like is getting dangerous, life-threatening, there are resources that I will be putting in the description. Seek those resources. Oh, and before I go, listen, the back and forth when you're in a relationship like that, the back and forth, don't be going back and forth, because a lot of times that's how people get hurt as well. You know, you see the signs, you call them out, and you break up with them. Once you break up with them, I don't care if you have to cry for 2 years, 10 years. I don't care if you have to miss them and cry for 10 years. Let them go. But don't run to your parents' house. When you make up your mind to run, you run. There are resources, there are places who will put you up and help you. I'm gonna put some numbers and some contact numbers and stuff in the description, so y'all can seek for some help if you're in those type of relationships. Again, I said it before, but it's been EB3, speaking the truth in love. Be blessed, be a blessing. I'm out. I got to go to work, y'all. Y'all have a blessed day and be careful.